Hello everyone and welcome to the drone flyover sneak preview of the Black Bear Open 4. We're going to be taking a look at the Black Bear Disc Golf Course in Shawnee State Park. It's going to be brought to you by the Southern Ohio Disc Golf Association and powered by Infinite Discs. So let's hop right down to it. Hole 1 is going to be a nice introduction hole to the rest of the course, but not really like the rest of the course. It's going to be a straightforward par 3, 356 feet. The road to the right, long, parking lot left are all out of bounds, and the ditch the drone just flew over now is also out of bounds. Reference the paint line that will be down. Basically, the green slopes a little right to left. You're going to want to, if you can attack it and get over that ditch, you're definitely going to want to try to pick up this easy 2 to get your round started with a good birdie. Alright everyone, we're coming into hole 2. It's going to be a 248-foot par 3. The main gap is going to be up the right-hand side. You're going to climb a little bit of a hill before it levels out when it turns left, right about here. Miss these trees on the right and the big tree on the left, and just straighten it out as you just kind of nestle in here onto this really sloped green. It's going to be a lot of roll-away risk on this one, but if you can get something nestled up nice and close, should be an easy tap in too. There are some good putts to be had down on the lower left hand side if you can avoid the trees. The other gap is going to be left gap. It's a very tight backhand turnover or forehand line. It's kind of a get up most of the way and get lucky, and we're going to pan over and see how sloped this green is right here. Like I said, if you land left, then you might have a putt. Alright, and we're on to hole 3. This is going to be the first par 4 coming in at 423 feet. The main gap is going to be on the left-hand side of this tree that the drone is flying up to now. The drone will be flying the slightly braver attack route on this hole. If you can get a stand-up hyzer to follow the drone flight, you're really going to eat up some fairway as long as you don't kick right or left. Left side of the fairway is going to slope way down through the woods eventually toward the road. Any kicks right are going to go way up on the hillside. Both sides of the rough is just immensely thick, so try your best to stay in the fairway. So decent throws, typically a forehand shot on the left-hand gap is going to be the most common play, landing right about here and just trying to attack the second half of the fairway. Typically a straight to slight flex forehand if you're on the right hand side, or a straight to slight turnover backhand if you're on the left is going to allow you to really kind of work your way through these trees. Now this is going to be the typical shorter end of the second landing zone right here. If you really have a good gap, you can get all the way to the basket, but this last little bunker of trees the drone is flying up to now is going to be your last true obstacle in the fairway. These are actually going to set right at about the edge of circle 2 and possibly out even in the circle 3. So just navigate your way through here, land it close to the basket, that way you don't have to worry about the death putt and the rollaway that is the entire bank on the left hand side of the basket. Alright, when moving into hole number 4, it's the second par 4 at 513 feet. The play really here is just going to be finding something to get clean off of the tee. Flex forehand if you're a righty, or flex backhand if you're a lefty, right through the gap the drone is flying. Keep it turned over, going through this gap right here until maybe right around through here. By about this point, it should be wanting to flatten out and pan and wanting to get back to the ground. The fairway bottlenecks right about here gets a little close in. You will notice a rock wall on the left that's not out of bounds, but right about here is going to be your best landing area. This right here is going to be the area you're going to want to shoot for. It's going to leave you a gap that, as soon as the drone can figure out which way to go, there it goes. You're going to want to shoot through the gap straight ahead and fly over the stump with a forehand or backhand turnover, and just something that's going to land up on this bank softly and flat without any risk of catching edge and rolling. So right about here is going to be where your shorter approach shots are. It's going to give you a long jump putt look at a birdie, but realistically, lay this up for par. A 4 on this hole isn't going to lose too many strokes. As you can see, it's going to be common on this course. is a lot of rollaway potential on the greens, and this hole is no exception. Alright, hole 5 is going to be a 222-foot par 3. It's going to go uphill the entire way. Just throw a putter or a mid-range or a fairway, whatever you're most comfortable with, hitting this gap and keeping it flat. You don't want a lot of lateral right or left movement in the flight. You're just going to want to send this thing straight. So you're going to be realistically aiming for this big leaning tree right here that lays inside the line of the basket. As long as you can at least get to there, you'll be alright. It's not going to be too much scoring separation on this hole. A birdie will get you a couple strokes on the field. Just try to avoid the bogeys. The green is severely sloped, so just try to nestle something in there and just be confident with your putt. Alright, hole 6. This is going to be a 632-foot par 5. This is going to be coming in likely as the hardest hole on the course, and you'll have to forgive me for not having drone footage on this hole. We had a file corrupt, and we ended up having to just go back through and reshoot it while walking, so just kind of bear with me on the little shaky footage. So off the tee, you're going to have two main choices. You can go with the obvious gap on the left side that we're walking, or through the right-hand gap. It gets tighter over there, but you can kind of pitch a hyzer. So basically, you're just going to try to cut this hole down into 3 parts. The first part is going to be get up at least to this flat. If you can work your way down this slope a little bit, it's going to be great. Right here is a very good short landing zone if you are playing this hole only for par. Chip up a little forehand or backhand putter to get up into here. Give yourself the widest possible gap right by this down log to start looking down the fairway. Off the tee, this fairway does kind of drift a little to the left, but not very hard, and then play straight the entire way to the pin. So you're going to want to pick the biggest gap you can to advance down the fairway to get to the second optimal landing zone. Now for our big throwers, a good shot will land right about here, giving you a lot more space and a bigger gap to try to attack the fairway to get down for a possible birdie. So a good rule of thumb on this hole is going to be to get over this little low spot and ditch right here that we're getting ready to walk over now, is to get over that in 2 shots. If you do that, it gives you the possibility of getting a birdie still, but it's going to make par very attainable. And on a hole that's typically averaging close to 6.5 strokes, par is going to actually feel really good. It's going to feel like a birdie, and it's going to get a lot of strokes on the field. So now we are going to start climbing up the second slope of this fairway, kind of bring you over to the second high point. A decent landing zone is going to be from about this down log over the next about 30 feet or so. If you can get past this bunker of trees that we're going through now on your second shot, you're going to be looking really good for your birdie. So we're going to take the high road, the upper right gap. There is also a lower left-hand gap that if you do leak left, it kind of opens itself up for a straight to fading forehand. But the optimal play is going to be getting up on top of the hill and throwing your approach into the green. So from right here, we still have about 100 feet into the pin. We're going to be just trying to navigate all of these little gaps and get past this leaning tree. It's a good landing zone for your third throw if you're playing for par. But obviously you're going to want to attack just a little bit more. So the biggest thing about this green is that it does slope from right to left and further back away from the pin. So approach shots can get swirly and get away from you. And it can roll. Anything in the air going past the basket does tend to stay in the air and float on downhill. Putts on the left side are a little obstructed typically due to those trees, but just get down onto the green. If you can get a birdie here, you're snagging definitely a stroke, if not more, on the field, but at least try to get par. Like I said, this is going to be the hardest hole on the course. Alright, coming into hole 7, this is going to be a par 3, 286 feet, very tight tunnel, high floor, low ceiling, narrow walls. Any kicks that send this left is going to be out of bounds over the road. Just try to get something low but fast. Fairway driver is going to be a good pull here. If you do end up over the road or any out of bounds off the tee, there will be a drop zone right at the end of the tunnel for you to be throwing your third shot. It's going to be a very simple hole. Just get something down and through. Try to avoid kicking out of bounds. Nestle up next to the basket. Tap in your 2. What you don't want to do is have anything coming in fast and on angle, because you will catch a flare skip and send you right out into the road. All right, hole 8 is 255-foot par 3. You're just going to want to get out of this gap clean and choose whether or not you're going to go left or right of that twisted tree that we just flew past. Forehands are typically going to do the best if you're aiming for the birdie. Just try to get something up and start either fading in through the last couple gaps of these trees, or get something onto the ground that's going to get a little bit of a skip and nestle up. It's a slightly challenging birdie to get because the green can get fast, it can skip you long, but if you kick early, the par is very salvageable. So get your birdie here, get a couple strokes on the field, and then move on to hole number 9. And the par 4 ninth is going to be a big dog leg right. So you're either going to want to take a forehand to the left side of the V tree or a turnover backhand to the right side of the V tree down that right gap that you can see. Whatever you can do to get up to the corner, maybe a little bit past. Now the second half of this fairway has opened up a lot, as you can see here, with some trees falling down in some previous storms. However you do this, just get past these couple remaining trees in the middle. It's a very severe downslope, so whatever disc you pick is going to pick up speed as it comes down the hill. Just get something like a putter that's going to float slowly down the hill, land it softly short of the basket onto the hard pan, and just let it slide up to the pin. Get it up there. Like I said, this is a par 4. The 3 is very attainable, but if any kicks to the right and down the hill or anything left can get you in trouble. Alright, hole 10 is a straightforward uphill par 3, clocking in at just over 200 feet. The fairway itself is narrow, but being a shorter hole, it's not that bad of a problem. You're going to want either a mid-range or a fairway, whatever you can get up the hill to maintain its speed the entire time. You're going to want to go just to the right-hand side of that middle tree, and then just land flat, hit the hard pan, and scoot your way up to the basket. This is a very attainable birdie, and definitely something that you need to pick up. This is going to be one of those must-get birdies on the course. So pick up your 2 and take a hike to the top of the hill for hole 11. Alright, hole 11 is going to be a 247-foot downhill par 3. I hope you really took the time to catch your breath after climbing up to this tee pad, as it is the highest point on the course and it's all downhill. So you're going to need to choose left or right as you go down this fairway. Either option is viable. Just stay up on the ridge. It slopes away hard, both left, right, and long. The ground is very hard packed, so skips are definitely in play. Be conservative on your putts. A 3 here isn't going to lose you too many strokes to the rest of the field, and a birdie feels excellent. And hole 12 is going to bring our first major difference to the course from last year to this year. This is now a par 5 coming in at 549 feet. The entire hole play is the same, but the green is different and a little longer, but we'll get to that in a second. So you're going to want to choose either left or right of this center tree we're flying by now. Right is going to be the more conservative, just straight stock one angle hyzer play. That's going to get you down to about right here, maybe a little further. Shorter throwers and players who are, not wanting to straight up attack this hole and try to get the 3 is going to want that play. Inside with a flip up is definitely the more risky of the 2 shots, but well able to snag a 3 on this hole. So really good drives are going to land right through here, and the fairway is going to list just a little bit to the left, as we see here. There we go, adjust the brightness, and start coming over this last little ridge down to the basket. So you're just going to want to play a nice straight shot. If you advance right about to that first down log, you're actually going to have a little forehand hyzer shot into the green as well. But however you can get down here over the big log and down into these bigger trees, however you can manage to do it, get down into there. Alright, so now for the major change, the par 5 placement. This will be a permanent addition to the course later, but it is making its debut in the tournament. So landing somewhere in these trees just short of the current pin will be an optimal shot in order to lay up a little chip shot across the creek, which is in bounds, it's not out of bounds. The basket will be up on an elevated box, so it will add a little bit of technicality and skill to the putt. Just try to get it close, don't contend with any of these trees, make your putt, and get your birdie. So after a little bit of a walk, you'll come to hole 13, which is the start of Birdie Alley. This next stretch of 4 holes are 4 holes that you absolutely need to get in order to be in contention. So this hole is a 200-foot par 3. You're going to want to throw a putter or mid-range dead center down the gut and aim right at this big tree in center frame. Hopefully get something to fade left just a touch as you approach it and go down this last little bit of a slope into the green. Any little kicks from the left or the right will put you in a little tricky situation, but par is still salvageable from those. When you get down to the green, watch your footing. It does get a little rocky, but you should have a putt pretty well anywhere inside of 30. Alright, hole 14 is going to be a 154-foot par 3, and don't let the distance fool you. This is actually going to be a very technical and tricky hole. So you're going to choose off the tee whether you go left or right of this tree that we're passing now, and either with a forehand or turnover backhand get through this gap and straight, and then start getting to the right. You're going to want to narrowly miss this little tree, and if you're throwing the turnover backhand, you're going to want to fade in just before and to the right of this big tree. If you're going the forehand, you're going to want to dive just on the left-hand side of it. The green does slope left to right with a lot of roll-away risk. Be careful and try to just stick the green and take your 2. Hole 15, 249-foot par 3. It's going to be going down the hill with a steep up bank on the right and a very steep, very far downslope on the left. The entire fairway plays down a downhill access road that will go on past the basket, so anything that sails long is going to continue to keep going, and these trees on the left hand side of the green don't do a good job of catching anything that overshoots the pin. So you're going to want to throw something low, slow, and let it nestle down onto the green. Forehands and overhands can also work if executed properly. Alright, hole number 16, 195-foot par 3. You can either take the left gap that you're seeing now with a turnover putter, or you can go down the right just with a little hyzer. So we're going to take this right gap, and if you take this, you're going to want to really watch out for these tree branches. They will snag you and drop you. The rough down on the right hand side is very thick. Again, there's going to be a sloped green, so be mindful of that on your approach in. Either way, you're going to want to kind of either land on the ground just short of this log and try to either skip over it or nestle just on the other side of it up near the basket. Rumor has it that the ace play is actually skipping off of the log, but I wouldn't advise it. So this hole is very tricky, and gravity tends to work a lot better on this hole than it does in the rest of the course, and anything that kicks up on the edge will typically roll all the way to the bottom of the hill. So be careful with your approach, try to get the 2, but avoid the bogey. Alright, hole 17 is 551-foot par 4. Good chance for you to air the disc out, as we will not be entering the woods again for the remainder of the round. There will be out of bounds up the left and right side. The road will be on the left, and there will be a line painted on the right hand side. It will extend down to the edges of the tall grass and then kind of wrap around the backside of the fairway and around the green. So right here where the drone is hovering over now is about where a conservative layup's going to be. If you've got more power and accuracy, you can try to eat up into this tunnel to bite off some more distance on your upshot. After your first shot lands, you're going to want to throw something down into the green that's going to kind of come in slowly and softly. You don't want anything to pick up and carry into the OB creek or anything to sail down and past the basket. The rough on the left and right of the green is very thick and is going to provide very little options for lines to the basket to try to get a putt off. So just try to land soft. Definitely try to get your birdie here. It's almost going to be a must get for the upper divisions. Don't take anything worse than a par, or you will see yourself slip down the leaderboard. Alright, hole 18. This is going to be the end of the traditional course. If you're here for the Black Bear Open prep, then hang tight for holes 19 through 21 that are only available for the tournament. So for hole 18, it's going to be in the par 4 position, a little over 500 feet. It's going to get out there. You're going to want to drive out to the right-hand side of this center bunker of trees without going too far as to clip any of the far right trees. This gap is getting smaller and smaller every year, so it's getting harder and harder to hit, but still definitely doable. The other option is for the lefties going to have a really big bomb to the left-hand side. So try not to be like the drone and have trouble, because if you clip these, it's going to drop you straight down. Just try to square up this gap and fade down into the short grass. The long grass is going to be in bounds, but it is very tough footing and really hard to find your disc if it does go in there. So you're going to want to land right about where the short pin is right here, and it's going to give you multiple looks into the green. There are going to be multiple little openings on the right hand side depending on how you want to attack the green, whether you want a straight shot, a hyzer shot, or a forehand shot. We're going to take the forehand gap because it is the biggest right now. So you're going to want to get something low, really overstable to start cutting in and skip and get some ground play over into the basket. So basically you just want to get right to here and square up one of these gaps, try to get over and just get lucky through these trees, get you a putt. This is going to be an elevated basket up on a big rock, and there is an OB creek just long of the basket. So bear in mind that. Try not to go too long. It's a par 4. A 3 feels really good, but don't take anything more than par. Alright, hole number 19. It's going to be the harder of the 3 temporary holes to hit. You're going to have 2 options. The first one is going to be the obvious backhand that the drone's going to fly. The second one is going to be a forehand out to the left-hand side of the sycamore. It's going to be a cleaner gap, but definitely harder to get all the way to the basket. So you're going to want to clear this creek, get over onto the fairway. Don't worry, the grass will be cut for the tournament. Try to get into here and straighten something out. You're not going to want to go too overstable that you're going to fade back into the trees on the left, but be mindful of the OB road right and long of this one. Get in here, like I said, this is probably going to be the tougher of the last 3 holes. Birdie is attainable, but don't take anything over par. Alright, hole number 20 is a 327-foot par 3. Everything on the left-hand side has danger, so the sand is going to be playing hazard while the lake itself is OB. Road on the right, OB. The rough long is also OB. Optimal play is going to be hitting the left-hand gap with something straight with a slight bit of turnover, or if you want to try to play with some hyzer and hit a couple of these smaller gaps, you can. Fairway driver is going to be a really good choice here to help carry the distance uphill, but you're going to want to put on the brakes before you go past the basket, or you will risk the out of bounds. The biggest risk here is getting something too far in the air that's going to stall out with too much height and start fading down that hill and straight into the water. Get your 2 here and go on to 21. And now for the grand finale, the 234-foot island par 3. Pay very close attention to your caddy guide because this has very specific out-of-bounds rules as well as multiple drop zones. Very simple and straightforward. Get down, try to get a birdie or maybe even a walk-off ace to finish your round. On behalf of the entire tournament staff for the Black Bear Open 4, I would like to thank all of you for tuning in to this special course preview of the Black Bear Disc Golf course. Can't wait to see you guys out there.